Welcome friends. In the previous session, we have discussed on Jaina metaphysics. In this session, we are dealing with Jaina epistemology and ethics. Jainism, epistemology, ethics and atheism. Epistemology. The Jaina epistemology gives us a detailed account of the forms of knowing. As we have pointed out in the last e-content, according to the Jainas, consciousness belongs to the essence of the Atman, which by nature is omniscient. The Atman knows everything, the past and future, the nearest and remote. While the man lives in this world, due to action sticking to the Atman, the knowledge of the Atman gets contracted and limited. Therefore, the Atman needs the instrumentality of the mind and senses for obtaining even the limited knowledge. As the Atman is in essence knowledge, mind and senses are unimportant so far as knowledge is concerned. But in the worldly stage, we cannot know objects without the instrumentality of the mind and senses. All knowledge is identical with Atman, yet the two are distinguishable. The relation between Atman and knowledge is both identity and difference. The sense and mind are media of perception. By themselves, the senses cannot perceive anything. The Atman alone can be the perceiver. According to Jainism, karma is a kind of subtle matter which enters into the soul and causes the bondage of Atman and limited knowledge. The body, the sense and the mind are all constituted by karmas and the soul's power is limited by them. Knowledge. Like other Indian thinkers, the Jainas admit the twofold classification of knowledge into immediate and mediate. Immediate knowledge is further divided into Avadi, Manahaparyaya and Kevala. Mediate knowledge into Mati and Shruta. Jaina philosophers points out that what is ordinarily regarded as immediate knowledge is only relatively immediate, because perception of internal or external objects is mediated by the manas or senses. Empirical perception is of two kinds, that produced by senses and that produced by mind alone. Perception and immediate knowledge. Perception is distinct spashta knowledge. Distinctness consists in the apprehension of an object with its specific qualities without the mediation of any other knowledge. It is independent of other pramanas and apprehends an object as this. Knowledge of thisness and particular qualities constitute distinctness of perception. There are two kinds of perception, empirical and transcendental. Empirical perception depends on the sense organs and other conditions. Our ordinary perception is empirical. Transcendental perception do not depend upon the sense organs and other conditions. It is revelation of knowledge of all objects due to extirpation of the karmic matter that enters into the soul. Empirical perception is either sensuous or non-sensuous. Sensuous perception is due to the external organs stimulated by external objects which apprehend external objects with sensible qualities. Non-sensuous perception is mental operation which apprehend pain, pleasure through the mind which is not a sense organ. Both sensuous perception and mental perception apprehend a part of an object distinctly, but they cannot apprehend an object with its infinite qualities and relations. Pure knowledge is a revelation from within the self due to the removal of the crust of karmic matter covering it. According to the Jaina philosophers, sense perception has four stages: avagraha, iha, aveya and dharana. Avagraha is the first stage. In this stage, there is only a distinct sensation, say of a sound. It is not yet known what it means. This primary state of consciousness is known as avagraha or grasping the object. In the second stage, a query arises. What is the sound? This questioning state of mind is called iha or the query. In the third stage, a definite judgment comes like, this is the sound of a train. This is called avaya or removal of doubt. Then what is ascertained is retained in the mind. This retention is called dharana. Transcendental perception depends upon the self alone. It is independent of the sense organs and mind. In the transcendental stage of perception, the self directly perceives objects on account of the destruction of the karmic matter covering it, independently of the sense organs and other conditions. There are two kinds of transcendental perception, incomplete and complete. Incomplete transcendental perception is of two kinds, avadhi and manahaparyaya. Complete transcendental perception is known as kevala. 1. Avadhi is the perception of sensible objects independently of the sense organs and manas due to the destruction of the crust of the karmic matters obscuring the knowledge. Avadhi is clairvoyance. 2. Manahaparyaya is telepathic knowledge of the process of other minds. It is also direct or immediate knowledge caused by the destruction of karmic matter obscuring the knowledge. 3. Kevala Gnana is a stage of omniscience. This is a stage of unlimited and absolute knowledge. Complete transcendental perception is the immediate knowledge of all substance and their modes in their infinite aspects. It arises from the annihilation of the entire crust of karmic matter due to the right intuition, faith and conduct. C.D. Sharma gives an account of immediate knowledge in his critical survey of Indian philosophy. He says, avadhi is direct knowledge of things even at a distance of space or time. It is called avadhi or limited because it functions within a particular area and up to a particular time. It cannot go beyond spatial and temporal limits. Manahaparyaya is direct knowledge of the thoughts of others. This too is limited by spatial and temporal conditions. In both avadhi and manahaparyaya, the soul has direct knowledge unaided by the senses or the mind. Hence, they are called immediate though limited. Kevala Gnana is unlimited and absolute knowledge. It can be acquired only by the liberated souls. It is not limited by space, time or objects. Mediate knowledge. Paroksha Gnana or indirect knowledge according to the Jainas is of 5 kinds: recollection, recognition, induction, direction and testimony. 1. Recollection or smriti. Recollection is the cognition that arises through an impression produced as in the past. It is the result of past experience of a person. Jainas take the recollection as important in knowledge because they think that inference is based on recollection. P.T. Raju explained this point of Jainas in his Structural Depths of Indian Thought. He observes, if we do not accept recollection as valid for the reason that it is due to a past impression, then we should not accept inference also as valid because it is due to or mediated by the major premise which also is based on past experiences and impressions left by them. In fact, all determinate perception is thus mediated by past experience held in a perception. If perception is the cognition of the individual as determined by a universal and knowledge of the universal is a result of past experiences. 2. Recognition or pratyabhijna. Pratyabhijna is the second form of indirect cognition. It is the composite cognition produced by perception and recollection. It apprehends an object in the forms. This is that, this is different from that and the like. This is that Devadatta. A wild cow is like a cow. This is called a tree. These are recognition. Recognition apprehends identity, similarity, difference, correlation, etc. Jainas take the recognition as a distinct kind of valid knowledge. It knows a present perceived object as known in the past. Example, this is that Devadatta. Perception knows this. recollection knows that, but recognition knows this is that. Jainas included comparison in recognition. Recognition knows an object as it really is and is in harmony with its real nature. 3. Induction or Taca. Taca is knowledge of the invariable concomitance of the middle term with the major term in the past, present and the future arising from the observation of their co-presence and co-absence. There are two kinds of Vyapti, Anyaya Vyapti and Vyatireka Vyapti. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. This is Anyaya Vyapti. Wherever there is no fire, there is no smoke. This is Vyatireka Vyapti. 4. Deduction or inference or Anumana. Deduction is the knowledge of the major term derived from the knowledge of the middle term. Fire is inferred from smoke. Smoke is the middle term. Fire is the major term. The inference is based on universal concomitance of the middle term with the major term. It is based on Vyapti derived from induction or Taca. 5. Shruti. Shruti is the last indirect cognition. This is really verbal knowledge or the knowledge obtained from the words. It is also the knowledge derived from reliable persons. The reliable person is one who knows the object as they really are and express his ideas correctly. His words are in harmony with the objects. The Jainas do not believe in the authority of the Vedas. They believe in the authority of the Tirthankaras who attained perfection and omniscience. Testimony is a preposition or a sentence. A sentence is a collection of interdependent words. Every word has a meaning because a word denotes an object by virtue of its natural denotative power and convention. A word manifests an object by its natural power, but the truth and falsehood of the utterance of a word depends upon excellence or imperfection of a speaker. Ethics. Jainism is a religion without God, but it is spiritualistic and ethical. Though Jainism denies God, it accepts Godhead. This Godhead is exemplified in each and every perfect soul. The Jainas accept the four values of life wealth, enjoyment, ethical merit and salvation. Karma is the link that unites the soul with the body. The bondage of the Atman is due to its being entangled in the world of actions or karma. Salvation can be obtained only by lifting oneself above action and eschewing all actions. Ignorance of truth and four passions, anger, greed, pride and delusion, attract of flow of karmic matter towards the soul. The karmic matter unites the soul just as water unites with milk. No other Indian school preached more strongly against action than Jainism. For Jainas, the infinity, omniscience and original blissfulness are lost by the Atman because of action. The inflow of action pollutes the Atman, wields its infinity and omniscience and make it a finite being. By the practice of right faith, right knowledge and right conduct, the influx of fresh karma is stopped. Then the already existing karma must be exhausted and liberation can be attained. According to Jainism, passions are due to ignorance. So, ignorance is the real cause of bondage and the ignorance can be removed by right knowledge. Right knowledge is produced by the faith in the teachings of the Tirthankaras. Hence, faith is necessary. Right knowledge dawns when all the karmas are destroyed by right conduct. Hence, right faith, right conduct and right knowledge together form the path of liberation. These are the three jewels or Retina of Jainism. They are inseparably bounded up and perfection of one goes with the perfection of the other two. For obtaining liberation, man must first stop all new inflow of action. It can be stopped through restraint, carefulness in speech, observation of rules and good conduct. Then one should work for the exhaustion or nirjara of the already accumulated actions through penance. Penance not only stop the inflow of new action, but also exhaust the already performed actions. When all accumulated actions are exhausted, it leads to liberation. There is only one fundamental fivefold spiritual discipline in Jainism. In the case of monks, it is extremely strict, rigid and Puritan. For the lay disciples, they are prescribed in a modified form. The vows in their extreme form are known as the great vows or Mahavrita, and the modified from the lesser vows Anuvrita. Non-injury or Ahimsa, non-uttering of falsehood or Satya, non-stealing or Asteya, abstention from sensibility or Brahmacharya, and non-possession are the 5 great Vritas or vows. The lesser vows too in the form of the same observances, except in the case of last two. These are replaced respectively by the vow of chastity and the principle of limiting one's want minimum possible. The practice of the 5 vows paves the way for the liberation of the soul from the bondage of karma. Atheism. In Indian philosophy, Jainism presents, along with Buddhism, a religion without belief in God. The Jainas do not believe in the existence of God. They are avowed atheists. But the atheism of Jainas are not like the atheism of Charvakas. C. D. Sharma compared the concept of atheism in Jainism and Charvaka. He observes, the Jainas are sometimes called Nastikas or heretics. If Nastika means one who denies the spirit, the ethical conduct and the life beyond, the Charvaka is the only system in Indian philosophy which can be called Nastika. Jainism, like Buddhism, and in a sense even more than Buddhism, is intensely spiritual and ethical. The Jainas therefore are not atheistic in this sense. Denial of God does not necessarily mean atheism in Indian philosophy. Otherwise, the Sankhya and Mimamsa, which do not believe in the existence of God, would not have been called orthodox. The word Nastika therefore is used for him who denies the authority of the Veda. In this sense, Jainism, like Buddhism, is Nastika. The Nayayika argues that the world, which is of the nature of an effect, must have an efficient cause. Just as a pot is made by a potter, so Nayayikas take the God as the efficient cause of the world. According to Nyaya philosophy, God has created the world out of pre-existing eternal atoms. The atoms are the material cause of the universe. The world consists of parts and intermediate magnitude. The world is produced by God, who has direct knowledge of the material atoms, desire to create the world and the volition to do so. The Jaina philosophers criticize the Nyaya arguments. The atheism of the Jainas is based on the following grounds. 1. If God is the creator of the world, he creates the world with a body or without a body. But the God cannot create the world without a body, just as a pot is not created by a potter without a body. If the God creates the world with a body, it is either perceptible or imperceptible. It is not perceptible since grass, plants, rainbow and the like are found to be spontaneously generated without its aid. If God's body is imperceptible, what is its cause? If a special greatness is its cause, there is no reason to prove it, and it involves mutual dependence. God's imperceptible body depends upon his special greatness, and his special greatness depends upon his imperceptible body. The body of human beings is caused by their merits and demerits, but God's body cannot be caused by his merit and demerit, because he is devoid of merit and demerit. Therefore, God cannot have perceptible or imperceptible body. He cannot create the world without a body also. 2. Jaina philosophers argue that, like the existence of God, the qualities of omnipotence, unity, eternity and perfection generally attributed to God are also doubtful. If the God is omnipotent, he should be supposed to be the cause of all things. But this is not true, because we perceive daily that many objects like houses, pots, books, etc. are not produced by God. If somebody says that God is eternally perfect, this argument is also invalid, because eternal perfection is a meaningless epithet. Perfection is only a removal of imperfection, and it is meaningless to call a being perfect who was never imperfect. 3. If God is absolutely eternal, He can neither create the world nor destroy it. Since creation and destruction imply change and God is admitted to be changeable and immutable, creation and destruction are two distinct acts. They cannot be made by an eternal God who is not liable to change. 4. If God is the creator of the world, what is the motive of His creation? An intelligent being exerts himself owing to self-interest or compassion for others. But if God is an eternally fulfilled being, He has no unfulfilled desires. He has no self-interest. So, He cannot create the world to fulfill His selfish end, nor can He be moved by the compassion for creators. Compassion is the desire to remove the suffering of others, but before creation there is no suffering, because of the body, mind and sense organs are not yet created at that time. Hence, God has not motive for creation. If God creates the world in sport, then His creative act is purposeless, like the play of child. Though the Jainas thus come to reject God as the creator of the world, they worship and mediate the liberated souls or siddhas. Jainas believe that the liberated souls possessing the God-like perfections. Prayers are offered to siddhas for guidance and inspiration. Jainas purifies his mind by the contemplation of the pure and strengthens his heart for the uphill journey to liberation. Jainism is a religion without the belief in God, but unlike Charvakas, they worship the divinity in man. In this sense, atheism of Jaina is qualitatively different from Charvakas. Now, let us summarize. Jainism is a heterodox school in Indian philosophy. According to Jainism, there are two types of knowledge, mediate and immediate. Immediate knowledge is further divided into Avadi, Manahaparyaya and Kevala. Mediate knowledge is divided into Mati and Shruta. There are 5 types of mediate knowledge. They are recollection, recognition, Tarka, Anumana and Shruti. Sense or mind is the media in mediate knowledge, but in immediate knowledge, soul knows the reality without the help of sense or mind. It is a transcendental perception, and transcendental perception is of two kinds, complete and incomplete. Kevala alone is the complete transcendental perception. Liberation is the ultimate goal of Jainism. Liberation is to be achieved by following a 5-fold spiritual discipline. They are the vows of Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya and Abhirigraha. Right faith, right conduct and right knowledge are the 3 Retinas in Jainism. The practice of 5 vows leads a man to liberation. There are few assignments for you to work out. 1. Explain the nature of Pratyaksha in Jaina epistemology. 2. Give a short account of 3 Retinas. 3. Describe the concept of transcendental knowledge in Jainism. 4. Kevala is a form of immediate knowledge. Justify the statement. 5. Give an account of mediate knowledge with special reference to recognition. 6. Explain the concept of moksha in Jaina thought. 7. Jainism is a religion without God. Explain. I can suggest some books also for your further reference. 1. Joseph Campbell, Philosophies of India, Motilal Banarsidass, Delhi 2000. 2. Jacobi Hermann, Jaina Sutras, Sacred Book of the East, Oxford 1895. 3. Das Gupta Surendranath, A History of Indian Philosophy, 4 volume, Cambridge 1949. 4. Radhakrishnan S. Indian Philosophy, 2nd volume, London 1923. 5. Mukherjee S. Jaina Philosophy of Non-Absolutism, Bharatiya Mahavidyalaya, Calcutta 1944. 6. Nathmal Tatia, Studies in Jaina Philosophy, Jaina Cultural Research Society, Benares, 1951. 7. M. L. Mehta, Jaina Psychology, Sohanlal Jaina, Dharma Prachara Samiti, Amritsar, 1957. Thank you for watching this session. We will meet in another session with another topic. Till then, bye.